Welcome to the channel Flying Meditator. Today, in this episode of Vasishtha, we will understand the origin of the mind, the cravings, and this world appearance. So, let's fasten our seatbelts and let's get ready to fly.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Vasishtha continued. A thought arising in the Supreme Being is known as individual consciousness. When this consciousness is freed from the thought and individualization, there is liberation. The seed or the sole cause for this world appearance is but the arising of a thought in the infinite consciousness, which gave rise to the limited finite individual consciousness. When the consciousness thus moved away from its utterly quiescent state and became tainted, as it were, from thought, the linking faculty arose, and with it, the mind thought of the universe. O Rama, by the control of the life force, the mind is also restrained, even as the shadow ceases when the substance is removed. The mind ceases when the life force is restrained. It is because of the movement of the life force that one remembers the experiences one has ever had. It is known as mind because it experiences movements of the life force. The life force is restrained by following means, by dispassion, by practice of pranayama, by the practice of inquiry into the cause of the movement of the life force, by ending of sorrow through intelligent means, and by the direct knowledge or experience of the Supreme Truth. It is possible for the mind to assume the existence of intelligence in a stone, but the mind does not possess the least intelligence. Movement belongs to the life force, which is inert. Intelligence or the power of consciousness belongs to the self, which is pure and eternally omnipresent. It is the mind that fancies a relationship between these two factors, but such fancy is false. Hence, all knowledge that arises from this false relationship is also false. This is known as ignorance. Maya or cosmic illusion, which gives rise to the dreadful poison known as the world appearance. This relationship between the life force and the consciousness is imaginary. If it is not so imagined, there can be no world appearance. The life force, by its association with the consciousness, becomes conscious and experiences the world and its objects. But all this is as unreal as the experience of a ghost by the child. The movement within the infinite consciousness alone is the truth. Can this infinite consciousness be affected by any finite factor? In other words, can an inferior entity overwhelm a superior one? Hence, O Rama, in truth, there is no mind or finite consciousness. When this truth is clearly understood, that which was falsely imagined as a mind comes to an end. It appeared to be because of imperfect understanding. When this misunderstanding ceases, the mind also ceases to be. This mind is inert and not a real entity. Hence, it is forever dead. Yet, beings in this world are killed by this dead thing. How mysterious is this stupidity? The mind has no self, no body, no support, and no form. Yet, by this mind is everyone consumed in this world. This is indeed a great mystery. He who says that he is destroyed by the mind, which has no substantiality at all, says, in effect, that his head was smashed by a lotus petal. To say that one can be hurt by the mind, which is inert, dumb, and blind, is like saying that one is roasted by the heat of the full moon. The hero who is able to destroy a real enemy standing in front of him is himself destroyed by this mind, which is found to be non existent. When this existence is inquired into, it is indeed strange that this unreal and false entity is sought to be strengthened by living beings. This world, conjured up by this non existent mind, is also destroyed by another equally non existent mind. This illusory world appearance is none other than the mind. He who is unable to understand the true nature of the mind is also unfit for being instructed in the truth expounded in the scriptures. Such a mind is full of fear. It is afraid of the melodious sound of the veena, and it is even afraid of a sleeping relative. It is frightened by hearing someone shout aloud and flees the spot. The ignorant man is completely overcome by his own deluded mind. My teachings are not meant for those, O Rama, whose intelligence has been silenced by a firm faith in the reality of this illusory world appearance and the consequent striving for pleasure of this world. What foolish man will endeavor to show a colorful forest to one who refuses to see? Who will instruct the man whose nose has been eaten away by leprosy in the delicate art of distinguishing different perfumes? Who will instruct the drunkard in the subtleties of metaphysics? Who will make inquiries concerning the village affairs from a corpse lying in the crematorium? If a fool does justice, who can dissuade him from such foolish attempts? Even so, who can instruct that ignorant person who finds it difficult to govern the mind which is dumb and blind? What indeed is a jiva but a word which has befuddled the intelligence of people? Even the finite or individualized consciousness is an unreal fancy. What can it do? Seeing the fate of the ignorant people who are suffering because the mind that they have fancied into existence, which veils the truth, which alone exists, I am filled with pity. In this world, fools are born only to suffer and perish. Every day, millions upon millions of mosquitoes are killed by the wind. From the smallest ant to the greatest of divinities, all are subject to birth and death. Every moment, countless beings die and countless others are born, totally regardless of whether people like it or not, whether they rejoice or grieve. Hence, it were wiser neither to grieve nor to rejoice over the inevitable. O Rama, they who behave like beasts cannot be instructed, for they are being led like animals by the rope of their own mind. Hence, the wise man does not attempt to teach those who have not overcome their own mind and are therefore miserable in every way. On the other hand, the wise do endeavor to remove the sorrow of those who have conquered their mind and who are therefore ripe to undertake self-inquiry. When objectivity arises in your consciousness, the latter becomes conditioned and limited. That is bondage. When objectivity is abandoned, you become mindless. That is liberation. In the middle, between the self as a seer and the world as a seen, you are the seeing or the sight. always remain in this realization. Between the experiencer and experience, you are the experiencing. Knowing this, remain in self knowledge. When abandoning the self, you think of an object, then you become the mind and thus become the subject of unhappiness. That intelligence, which is other than self knowledge, is what constitutes the mind. That is the root of sorrow. When it is realized that all this is but the self, there is no mind, no subject, no object, and no thinking. When you think, I am Jiva, etc., the mind arises, and with it, the sorrow too. When you know, I am the self, the Jiva and other things do not exist, the mind ceases to be, and there is supreme bliss. When the self forgetfully, identifies itself with the object seen and experienced, and is thus impurified, there arises the poison of craving. This craving intensifies delusion. Whatever terrible sufferings and calamities there are in this world are all the fruits of craving. O Rama, remaining unseen and subtle, this craving is yet able to consume the very flesh, bone, and blood of the body. In a moment it seems to subside. The next moment, it is in an expanded state. When this craving has ceased, one's life force is pure, and all divine qualities and virtues enter one's heart. The river of craving flows only in the heart of the one wise person. Even as an animal falls into a trap or a blind well on account of its craving for food or the bait, a man following the trail of his craving falls into hell. Craving makes one cringe. Yet, it's on account of craving that the sun shines on earth, the wind blows, the mountains stand, and the earth upholds living beings. All the three worlds exist on account of craving. All the beings in the three worlds are bound by the rope of craving, hard to break. Therefore, O Rama, give up craving by giving up thinking or conceptualization. The mind cannot exist without thinking. First, let the image of I, you, and this not arise in the mind, for it is because of these images that hopes and expectations come into being. Ego sense is the source of all sense. Cut at the very root of this ego sense with the sword of wisdom of the non-ego. Be free from fear. With this, we finish today's chapter. See you again.